This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, your community access media station. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible. This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, your community access media station. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.
Here on Volunteering Vibes, we're all about spotlighting the change makers, those everyday heroes who roll up their sleeves and build stronger, kinder communities across Hawke's Bay. Volunteering isn't just about giving time, it's about creating connection, purpose and impact. And in fact, across Aotearoa, volunteers contribute millions of hours every year, supporting everything from emergency response to community care, arts, education and well-being. And today we're joined by one of those incredible people, Deirdre Venter from Heretaunga Women's Centre, a place where women come together to be heard, supported and empowered. Kia ora, Deirdre, thank you for joining us. Let's dive in.
Kia ora, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So for those who may not know about the centre, can you tell us a little bit of what goes on at Heretaunga Women's Centre?
Absolutely. The Heretaunga Women's Centre is a charitable organisation that turns 30 years this year. We're very, very excited to see that happen. Yes, it's been a journey, and I think it's really important to acknowledge all the women that have come before us, because it's not just the journey of one, but that of a collective. And so it's the collective energy of the centre that makes it so special. Our purpose is to advocate and promote the well-being of those women in our community. And so with that, we look at an empowerment model. How are we able to uplift and empower each other through the work that we do? So we're there for women who are looking for support, for connection, who are maybe just taking a moment in their very busy lives to have a cup of tea or use the bathroom facilities. If you haven't visited before, we're on the corner of Eastbourne East and Russell Street in the Women's Rest Building. Yes. So it's in central Hastings, and it's honestly a place of safety and belonging where there's no judgment at all as to what your needs might be.
Oh, that sounds like an incredible resource. It's a really vital space for women in our community, I think. And what sort of impact do you see happening at the centre on a day-to-day basis?
I think we've seen a significant shift, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that Hastings itself, or our region, has gone through quite a tumultuous time. Coming off the end of COVID and then entering into a phase of uncertainty with Cyclone Gabriel. We've seen a massive shift in our community and the needs that women present with. I think especially now with the economic recession and the times that are changing, there's an urgency around basic needs, access to housing, access to sustainable food sources, a transition from unemployment back into employment in order to cope with our daily expenses. And so we've seen a huge growth in social need in our community. This year alone, we've had 4,900 women already enter our doors for support, advice and information. Oh, wow. And that's seeking access to legal clinics, which we have weekly on a free basis for those who need some advice and guidance in which direction to go. Right. Being positioned in the heart of our community, we're directly across from the library and the police station and the courthouse. And so women would often walk past and pop in and come and share a little bit about their day. Okay. And I think it's the emotional connection. It's that knowing that if they come in and have a cup of tea, there's someone who might have a listen and be able to just, hold that space to know they're feeling heard and supported. It's been a really tough year, I think, for many in our community. And it's just about making sure that we can continue having a safe, welcoming, inclusive space for whatever the need is that presents that day.
So what are the range of issues that you see people bringing to you, the needs that they have?
So as I touched on just earlier, we have a lot of women that are seeking sustainable housing, needing to return to employment for whatever reasons. But we're also seeing the grief and the loss of potentials and the transitions of life going from not being a mum to becoming a mum, from having to exit relationships. We've seen quite a large increase in family violence and the need to support a woman through that journey. We have counselling services, and so one of our most important priorities is to have barrier-free access to services. So our counselling services are set up in such a way that we have both regular streams, so that's a woman that books in for a weekly or a fortnightly appointment with our counsellor, versus what we refer to as responsive counselling. That is when a woman comes in crisis or in a time of extraordinary need and needs to access support almost immediately. We try and have a turnaround of 48 hours with which that person is then paired with our counsellor or students. We have students that come and do their hours as part of their practicums, to try and just connect in and see if we can hold the space until we're able to transition into something that's more frequent. Right. And so in that space, it's the grief, it's the loss. We can support with mild depression, some anxiety. It's just making sure that women feel that they are held. And I think what we have learned is it's the AFI, it's the wraparound service that really does support women into a space of, I know I can do this. I feel empowered to make the decisions I need to make to live the life that I choose to live.
It sounds like an incredible opportunity for them to be heard and seen. And I think when you talked about coming in for a cup of tea, that's one end of the spectrum to write life-changing decisions and empowerment. That's a real spectrum of needs and services.
Absolutely. And I think what we've recently done in the years is we've structured our program and our services across 5 pillars. So we've grounded it in kaupapa of empowerment, but we look at women's health and wellness. So we have a range of volunteers who come with professional skill sets that then support with offering cervical screening clinics that's offered through Te Whatu Ora. So women who feel intimidated or unable to go into the hospital setting can make a booking through the 0800 number and then pop into the centre where it's slightly more cosy and a homely environment for that professional service. We've also got really good working relationships with healthcare professionals in our community that come and educate about women's health issues. We've got holistic health, so miri rangwa healing. We've got mahi wairua appointments. So we really try and cater for that holistic journey of what health looks like to the wahine in our community.
How do you squeeze it all in?
We have a really, really active group of volunteers. This year we've got 75 volunteers on our lists.
I was just going to ask you about the role that volunteers play, so please tell us some more.
They have contributed collectively nearly 3,000 hours this year. And I think we spoke about this briefly beforehand, but we cannot equate, the cost that supports us with. It's not just the time and the effort and the willingness, but it's their passion and their energy. And we're just so deeply, deeply grateful for the women who are supporting other women.
Oh, wow, that's an incredible thing to think about, isn't it? The amount of human investment in that, but just so much giving and, really appropriate. So you talked about the number of volunteers that you have, and when you talk about volunteering, it's quite common for people involved in work like yours to have their own backstory of volunteering or working for not-for-profit. So what's your story?
It's really interesting that you ask. So for those who haven't picked up on the accent just yet, I'm originally from South Africa. And it's been a noticeable transition because in South Africa, we thought we are a very generous group of people and we do volunteer our time. But it's a very different type of volunteering back home. It's very much within your career and delivering within the space that you can contribute, the most. At least that's my experience in the allied healthcare space. Coming to New Zealand, we arrived on shore in March 2021. It was between the first and the second COVID lockdown here in Aotearoa. And so I arrived with a visitor visa. At the time, I thought, I'm in my early 30s. I can't be having a midlife crisis. I can't be taking a break from my career. But yet the opportunity presented. And for a year, I found myself in a space of being able to choose where I'd like to apply my time and where I'd like to connect with other people. Because I think volunteering is very much about finding a sense of belonging in a community that shares similar interests or, wants to give their time and serve.
I agree.
And so I met a beautiful woman who introduced me to, at the time, the Hastings and the Napier Women's Refuge. It's now known as Family VIP Services or Violence Intervention and Prevention Charitable Trust. And I offered some time there in the safe house settings where we packed hampers for the women. We sorted through clothes and donations to make sure that their stay was safe and welcoming. And so through that, I then got to learn about other volunteers, and we call it serial volunteering because it seems that volunteers in New Zealand don't have one cause but often are involved with many.
I agree. I see that day to day at Volunteering Hawke's Bay.
And so through that, I was introduced to the Heretaunga Women's Centre and learnt about the incredible work that was being done there. I never actually ended up volunteering there because I was offered paid employment, and so joined the team as a service development lead. But just revisiting my own journey is without the volunteering experience, I wouldn't have made the friends that I have today. So I call back home and I say, my first 5 friends were seemingly older, in retirement phases of their lives, but yet they had such generosity of spirit and heart that, it's just that giving back to the community. It's not just the people that we're supporting, but it's the relationships we're building in that process too, which I really honour.
Oh, that's amazing. So for anyone out there thinking about, could I do this? How and why and when do I get involved in volunteering? What would you say to them?
I think it's really important to just try it. I think you need to take the time and assess what's important to you, because you are giving your time, and often volunteering starts with maybe an hour and it often evolves into a larger commitment, naturally and organically, is just put your hand up and say, I'd like to try this. There's often no strings attached. It's an opportunity to try something new, to catapult into a different field of interest if that's what you're wanting to do. But if it's something you're passionate about, it will grow. And in that, you'll meet new people and you'll be able to, just learn a little bit more about the community and the heart of it.
I think it's interesting the contrast you talked about, your experience in South Africa of volunteering versus your experience here. And linking that to what you just said about using volunteering as a way of testing the waters in different spheres.
Absolutely. And I think it's a culture. I honestly believe, reading the Volunteering New Zealand reports and just seeing the significant amount of human capital that is resourced in the volunteering sector, it starts from a really young age. I've recently learnt about the Duke of Edinburgh Awards and, encouraging young students to get involved with volunteer efforts and service and contribution. It's almost, we hear the stories of volunteers coming through the front door and they talk about their parents volunteered at this organisation and it did this. So it's different because in South Africa it felt, at least, and I should also acknowledge I was in the prime of my early career. So it's a different phase of life. You're not necessarily looking at other opportunities to give. You just want to build in your business or in your career. But in South Africa, I experienced it on a smaller scale, I suppose, is the ability to give your time and volunteer. It was often over weekends or in the evenings, where here in New Zealand, you sometimes have the opportunity to leave work early to go and volunteer. And there's days that are encouraged for corporate social responsibility where businesses get involved in local causes.
Yeah. And Volunteering Hawke's Bay plays its part in that, in matching up corporate or volunteers that are looking to participate in different schemes and work with other not-for-profit organisations and share their time and experience and their energy in surprising ways. So we've got lawyers planting trees and also helping with legal work with that organisation too. But when you say to them, well, you can pick up a spade and dig a hole, it's just something that perhaps they hadn't thought about doing.
And I think the beauty of it, Tracy, is that as the organisation that you're at, you have the viewpoint. You can see where the need is and you can connect the dots.
It's one of the things I really enjoy about working at Volunteering Hawke's Bay is that we have that overarching view and we're able to connect organisations together that don't necessarily know each other exist, or you hear of a need and then you know of a want and you're just able to join the dots. So
that's amazing.
That's really satisfying. So thinking about how Heretaunga Women's Centre uses volunteers. So you talked about some of the roles, 75 roles, I think it was.
Yeah.
So what sort of volunteers do you have?
So it actually brings me back to those 5 pillars. We initially discussed the women's health and wellness space, but we've got an advocacy pillar, and that's actually quite beautifully positioned for those with professional skill sets. So many firms locally law practices support us with our free legal clinic, which happens on a weekly basis. And so a lawyer comes across and then supports us with just that support, advice and information to start with. We've also developed local partnerships with Emerge Aotearoa that's doing a housing advocacy clinic for us. So if you're struggling with sustaining a tenancy or needing help with a landlord and mediation, they then plug in and support us with that service. We've got an incredible Wahine Tracy who does job justice clinics. So if you have any issues with an employer, so it's advocating for you as an employee and helping you understand your rights and how you can negotiate or navigate difficult conversations, she offers one-to-one support in her time. We've also got a relationship with Weave Hawke's Bay, formerly known as Napier Family Centre, who offer financial mentoring clinics. So if you're needing help with debt consolidation or budgeting or anything that is related to financial needs, they're able to support with that. And so the centre is a space where local organisations can come and deliver their services outside of their standard workplace. So advocacy is one of those spaces, and it is for women to come and just advocate on their own behalf and find out the needing questions that they have. Our other space, which is really hugely supported by our community of volunteers, is our Connection Kaupapa, and that is a space of shared hobbies. So we have crochet, knitting, we have some cooking classes, we've got a book club, a writing club, and these are wahine volunteers who are so passionate about their interests that they'd like to share it with the community. And so we're very excited to be hosting a Christmas market this year where these women can show their talents and share it with the larger community, but almost using it as an open day to really showcase the heart of the woman at our centre, to have that form of connection and that sense of belonging.
Oh, the smiles are getting broader in the room. If you can feel the love totally.
Yes.
So how does it work for you in terms of coordinating and managing volunteers? Because that might be quite a reasonably sized task with that number of people coming and going.
Absolutely. So we're considered a small not-for-profit organisation because we have 8 part-time staff members, but we just spoke about this briefly before, is you have to account the human capital on our volunteers, which makes it actually a fairly large-sized organisation with managing the needs. But I think the most important thing is when someone approaches us to volunteer, it's understanding what is their why. Why do they want to connect with our organisation, and what is it that they would like to do? And if we can answer those 2 questions in the early days in our first cup of tea and conversation, we're then able to join the dots and make sure they feel the passion that ignites within, that it really connects with what they're doing at the centre. And that's the sustainability and ensuring that they continue enjoying their journey with us.
Right.
We pride ourselves on the fact that we're super flexible, and so it's around their availability and time in terms of scheduling. But I think, as with all things, when you start a new relationship and partnership, it's the orientation, it's the induction, it's making sure everyone's on the same page with the expectations.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And whilst volunteers aren't employees, there should still be a process from the welcoming, the induction, the support.
Absolutely.
And all the way through to the valuing and the exiting.
Absolutely.
Of that person.
And I think the risk with having volunteers sometimes is that it is a transient time. So it might, unlike employment where you have an agreement and there's a set period of time, it might change suddenly overnight. And for us, it's not about, it's about being responsive. It's about, all right, we acknowledge that we're so grateful for your investment and your involvement. Because if anything, what I've learned in the regions of New Zealand, it's about word of mouth, and it's about sharing my experience and telling the story that then populates more interest and raises the awareness and the profile of the organisation. And so we really are invested in making that journey or that experience for each woman that comes through the front door, whether you're a client, a visitor, a volunteer, a staff member, or someone who previously just popped in with your nana or mum for plunket services or toilet use. It's about really just the warmth and, the wraparound service.
So you talked about how you share the stories of your place. So what media do you use? How do people find out about what you do, apart from dropping in and having a cup of tea? Are there other avenues they can use to find out about your work?
We're absolutely learning very quickly that as much as we've been in the community, our building itself is over 120 years old. Yes. Many people haven't taken the opportunity to come through the front door.
No, just walk past.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Admire the beauty of the architecture and then move on. We've just recently invested a significant amount of funding into rebranding and relaunching our look and feel. And so with that came a beautifully designed website. And so we're using our website to try and generate as many feeds as possible to really get people to know our story. We've got a Facebook page, so the Heretaunga Women's Centre. You can find us on social media. It's linked to our Instagram. We're also slowly but surely starting to grow our following on LinkedIn. And so, yes, we're trying to use social media. But it is very much about getting out there and creating opportunities for the community to connect with us. So we do it through events like our Harcourts Hawke's Bay Women's Triathlon, which is a community-facing event. We have quiz nights, movie nights, open days, etc., to try and bring the community into the centre.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think this year we've learned, if not anything, it's about also reaching out. Is we can't just establish rapport on a building that's in the centre of the city. It's about really going and reaching out to the community.
So do you have plans for outreach now, or is that still a work in progress?
It's still a work in progress at this stage. I think what we've come to understand this year is funding is really tight within our community, within the not-for-profit sector, with the changes of priorities and budget constraints, is we want to make sure that we're delivering a high-quality service within the heart of what we do, and we know that we're a women's centre, so it is centre-based. We have in the past tried through our mentorship kaupapa. We are affiliate program partners with Super Skills Supergrands Aotearoa. And so that's a mentorship program that looks at delivering life skills to the community. And so we thought that would be a beautiful, natural way to reach out into the community and offer household support. It's not as simple as that. From a health and safety point of view and everything else considered, we realized we need to start really thinking about what that looks like for our centre and for our community. What we've also learned from community participation and feedback is people want to come out of their homes and their communities into a new space to learn skills.
Yes.
And so it's kind of just figuring out where is the sweet spot, what is the best way for us to deliver it, but also do it in a way that's sustainable and can grow in the long term.
I can't help but feel that period of isolation that was created around COVID, people are kind of flipping the coin on that and they're now wanting to be out.
Oh, absolutely. We've spoken about how do we grow our outreach beyond, Hastings and Napier? How do we reach the more rural communities in Hawke's Bay? And the quick response, because we know it's a model that has worked in the past, is why not do it remotely? Why not offer, courses, activities and things online?
Yes.
And the resounding feedback is, I don't want to stay home. I want to be connected. I want to be there in person and feel the energy of the space.
Yes.
And so although it's a model that worked, there's obviously some connotations connected to it, and it just propagates that idea of isolation and disconnection.
Yeah, something about that speaks of less than to me, as opposed to me being able to walk across the road and go into your building and talk to you face to face. So,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's kind of just assessing what the need is, because at the end of the day, we're an organisation that would like to respond and meet the need of those presenting. We can have all these grand ideas, but the question is, are we serving the community that we have put our purpose out to?
So if someone listening to this is interested in volunteering, whether you're an individual or a corporate, how would they approach you? Where would they go from here?
The best way is to visit our website. We do have an online form there that they can fill in. Alternatively, they can email the centre. The best way is through admin@hwc.nz. Alternatively, pick up the phone 06878 5401. Otherwise, of course, pop in for a cup of tea and visit us. Come and see the space and feel the energy of the wahine that walk through our doors.
What a perfect way just to connect and just, as you say, see how that feels for you and then see where that conversation goes from there. So, Deirdre, it's been an absolute pleasure in talking to you today on Volunteering Vibes. Your dedication to empowering women through the Heretaunga Women's Centre is really uplifting. We're cheering you on from the sidelines and wishing you every continued success in the work that you do as we move ahead. And to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us today. If today's korero has sparked something in you and you'd like to explore how to get involved, pick up the phone or have a look on the website. Just get on and do that. So whether you're flying solo or part of a team or representing a business, Volunteering Hawke's Bay is here to help you connect with causes that matter to you. So we offer free workshops, training, networking opportunities to support everyone's volunteer journey. So head to www.vhb.org.nz and discover where your skills and passion can make a difference today. A big thanks to Radio Hawke's Bay for making this show possible. You can catch this episode and plenty more at radiohawksbay.org.nz. Until the next time, keep the spirit of volunteering alive and thriving. Mā te wā.
This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, a community access media station. Thank you to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.
This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, your community access media station. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.